This is not just a political analysis. This is an inquiry into a deeper mechanism, one that operates beneath institutions, beneath ideologies, and even beneath conscious choice. Today we ask a fundamental question. Why do moderate voices disappear while extreme voices survive? At first glance, we tend to believe something simple, almost comforting, that reason prevails, that moderation is sustainable, that truth eventually wins. But history and human behavior tell a different story. In reality, systems under pressure do not reward balance. They reward survival. And survival under fear follows a very specific logic. Let us begin with a difficult premise. People do not reject truth because they are ignorant. They reject it because they cannot afford to accept it. Truth, in many cases, is not liberating. It is destabilizing. It demands consequences. It requires courage. It imposes cost. And when the cost of truth becomes too high, people make a quiet, rational decision. They choose illusion. Now, when this choice is no longer individual, but collective, something remarkable happens. A structure begins to form. In this structure, silence becomes survival. Conformity becomes safety. Extremity becomes proof of loyalty. And moderation becomes a liability. Why? Because moderation requires nuance. And nuance signals hesitation. And hesitation in high-risk environments looks like weakness, or worse, disloyalty. So the system begins to filter, not by intelligence, not by competence, but by risk tolerance. Let us examine this filtering process more precisely. First, those who perceive reality clearly, often moderates, are the first to face elimination. Why? Because they are willing to speak, to question, to negotiate. And in doing so, they expose themselves. Second, the silent majority, the middle layer, begins to shrink. They observe what happens to those who speak. They calculate, and they withdraw. Not because they agree, but because they understand the cost. Third, those who remain are not necessarily the most capable, but the most aligned with survival incentives. And increasingly, those incentives reward one thing: extreme certainty. Over time, the system transforms. What survives is not truth, but what is safest to express. And eventually, the illusion becomes indistinguishable from reality. Now, when this dynamic